Hi, it's Jason here from Wildlife Gadget Man. Now, one of the best things you can do to attract wildlife into your garden is to provide a bug hotel. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to make a bug hotel like this. So step one is to gather your materials. So you'll need some timber to create the frame. You'll need 4 baked bean tins or soup tins or something similar. And you'll need some natural materials. So if you look in here, you can see I've got some moss, I've got some hay, I've got some pine cones, some bamboo canes, and some general sticks and pieces of wood. And they'll come really handy when it gets to the stage to fill in our bug hotel. Step 2 is to create the frame for your bug hotel. Now, the size of your frame will depend on a number of dimensions. The first is the diameter of the can that you're using. The second is the height of the can that you're using. And the third is the thickness of the material, the timber that you're using as well. So I've got a ruler, and let's measure these cans. So my diameter here is 75 millimeters. The height is 110 millimeters. And the thickness of my timber is 12 millimeters. So those dimensions will come in really handy when we come to cut the sides and the base for our frame. So I've got some I cut earlier here. So the base needs to be twice the diameter of our cans plus 1 millimeter. So my base is 151 millimeters by 151 millimeters. Our sides need to be twice the diameter of our cans plus the thickness of the timber that we're using as well. So for me, it's 150 millimeters plus 12 millimeters, so that makes that 162 millimeters long, and the height needs to be the height of the can plus the thickness of the timber that we're using plus an additional 5 millimeters, just to give us an extra lip around the top of the cans to make it a little bit more waterproof. If it rains down, it will just help prevent the raindrops going into the cans. And you'll find all of the instructions to be able to measure up your sides and your base on the instruction sheet provided. There are a number of different ways that you could fix your frame together. You could use screws, you could use nails, or you could glue it all together. But for this frame, I'm going to screw it together. Now, it's always a good idea to drill pilot holes in your timber if you're going to screw into it. And the way that you do that to make sure that you get your holes in the right place is to take your base, for example, put that on one edge and then draw a line. And then along the long edge of one of your sides, pop the base on again and draw another line. And then what you want to do is to drill a pilot hole at the top and the bottom of each side along the short edge, about 20 millimeters from the edge. And then on the base, you want to drill another hole in the center there. And that will make things a lot easier in the next stage. Now it's time to screw your frame together. So there we go, there's the finished frame. It's worth double checking to make sure your cans fit in there. They look good. So the next thing to do is to give the edges a bit of a sand down. Go, all nicely sanded down. Now it's this stage that you could give it a coat of paint if you wanted, but I'm just going to continue to fill it. Now we're on to the final step, step 5, which is the fun bit. So we get our cans, pop them in the frame, and we grab our natural materials, and then we start filling in all the gaps. Now I like to use moss or hay in the big gaps between the tins, so we'll do that first. And sometimes when you get to the smaller gaps, it's a little bit easier to use a pencil or a stick to help push the moss down into those gaps. So we'll just quickly do this. There we go. All of the gaps around the tins are filled in. So now it's time to fill in the tins. Now I'm going to use some bamboo canes for 2 of the tins. Now you need to cut your sticks or your bamboo canes so they are 4 millimeters less than the height of your tins. That way they don't stick out and they won't fall out when you put your bug hotel up on a fence or a post. So all you need to do is to stuff your canes carefully into the cans. Now it's worth being a little bit cautious when you're putting the canes in the cans because sometimes the cans have sharp edges, so you just need to be aware of those sharp edges and just be a little bit careful. I like to put similar materials opposite each other, so it makes quite a nice pattern in the finished bug hotel. Almost done with the bamboo canes here. A couple more I think we can squeeze in. Maybe one more. Let's see if we've got one more. Here we go. Excellent. Ooh, that one's a little bit tough, but we've got that in there. So now we've got our bamboo canes in there. For the next tin, I'm going to use some old bits of wood. So we'll stuff them in there. And you want to get them fairly tight so they don't fall out. But the idea is that you're creating lots of cavities and dry spaces for different types of insects to move in, so they can hide in there, they can sleep in there, they can overwinter in there, and they can breed in there as well. So that's that can done. And for the final can, I think I'm going to use some pine cones. So we just stuff the pine cones in there, give them a little bit of a squeeze. There we go, that's in. And that's it. That's our finished 4-can bug hotel. The only thing left to do now is to pop it up in the garden somewhere and wait for the bugs to move in. So have a go, enjoy yourselves, and let's see what you can do.